You've opened your presents, polished off the jaded turkey detritus, and your racist aunt has finally gone back to Tarrington St Clement. So treat yourself to a quick hit of sporting scandal. This is Extra Shot. My name's Jack Rivlin. I'm joined as ever by Zach Sweeney-Lynch.
Hello, Jack.
Happy Christmas, post-Christmas.
Yeah, happy
Christmas.
We're in the in-between bit, aren't we?
Yeah, the gooch, as JP keeps saying. I think he's like really trying to get me to...
Is it a manscaped gooch between Christmas and New Year?
Well, I don't know, you tell me, speak for yourself. Is your gooch manscaped?
Well, thank you to our sponsors, yes it is.
There's grounds for tribunal, that kind of question of a colleague, isn't it? Did you have a good one?
I did have a good one, yeah.
Did you
expose yourself to your relatives?
No, I didn't, and I didn't give or get any Manscaped products.
No.
And I would like to know if anyone out there did as a result of our advertising. Are we actually driving any sales for Manscaped?
For the purposes of, in case they're listening, I think we probably sold loads.
Yeah,
loads. They should repeat it.
And let us know if you did.
Actually, speaking of gifts, did you see Luke Littler did an interview this week where he was asked about what he got for Christmas? And he replied, some clothes, a new gaming chair, a headset, and an Xbox gift card from my mum, even though I'm sponsored by them. Which presumably Luke Littler can get as many Xbox gift card points as he wants.
What do you get the man who has every Xbox gift card?
Yeah, I don't know.
A gaming chair.
A gaming chair and
Some
a headset.
new vapes.
To be fair, that is, for most 17-year-olds, that is a bumper haul of Christmas presents.
That is what's so endearing about him, is even though he seems to have the personality of like a 50-year-old bloke on the fruit machine, he's also really young and still like a gaming addict.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess he's going to be dropping those Xbox gift cards down to a charity shop in Ali Pali next week.
Age UK.
Yeah, I mean, usually a run at Ali Pali is good for like the local kebab shop and a branch of Cakes and Vapes.
What is Cakes and Vapes?
Cakes and Vapes. I think I talked about it before. There's a shop near me called Cakes and Vapes, which sells cakes and vapes.
Cupcakes.
Yeah, which I don't know if it's like, I haven't been in. It seems like a strange combination.
Well, they're both just like really artificially sweet.
Yeah, I don't know if they have like a sort of complimentary vape that goes with a cake.
Yeah, it's like wine pairings. the vape sommelier. I actually wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Like,
you quite a good experience.
People do that.
I can actually see like a Michelin-starred restaurant doing that.
Cakes and vapes.
In the sea, like between, you have like a, what do you call it, like a palate cleanser thing between courses that you'd have like the blueberry raz elf bar that you have between courses to cleanse the palate.
Paired with a delicious pudding.
Yeah.
I mean, he does actually, but he gets a kebab every time he wins, right? So they genuinely do well at it.
Yeah, I mean, they do. It's nice to see that this year it's the Wood Green branch of Age Concern UK that's going to be benefiting. To be fair, though, I think Luke's donation will probably be welcomed by the volunteer pensioners behind the counter a little bit more than former Rangers defender Nicola Katic's unwanted Christmas gift a few years ago. So Rangers they traditionally did this like Secret Santa with the squad, and unfortunately Nicola had the misfortune of having his name picked out by midfielder and reptile enthusiast Ryan Kent. So Nicola's teammates are there unwrapping the usual fare of like, I don't know, cans of craft lager and like some scented candles, and he unwrapped his present to find a live snake inside there.
Was it wrapped like a bottle of wine where you just get the wrapping paper around it?
It's just sort of like slightly, you can see that, why is that one moving? What is it?
Well, I guess it was in like a shoebox or something.
Maybe, yeah.
What sort of snake are we talking? Big boy?
It was like not a python.
Nonetheless, quite scary.
I think it was sort of, I don't know, foot long snake. But it like got loose in the Rangers dressing room. Rangers apparently cancelled their Secret Santa the following year after that.
Because Ryan Kent has abused it.
Yeah.
How do you think Nicola Katic is? Obviously, he's not going to a charity shop. You just go into the pet shop and be like, have this back.
I'd like to think that he brought it down to his local branch of Age Concern. I tried to hand it over to some infirm
in with
volunteers.
Some like moth-eaten shirts.
Yeah, some of those like dog china things. Maybe he just put it in a box of other tat that he was getting rid of.
Yeah, they were shut, so he just left it on the doorstep. Yeah. Can't really take it down to the dump.
Yeah.
Fucking hell, that I would be so pissed off if someone gave me that.
Yeah, because
Rather than a fake scratch card.
you're stuck with it basically. Aren't you?
Well, I'm giving it away, but just how? Or I'm letting it loose in the changing room, which sounds like what he did.
Yeah.
You said reptile enthusiast.
Yeah, so there was actually another story about Ryan Kent. So he joined Fenerbahce in Turkey a couple of years ago, and there was a story in Turkish press that he was advertising for a babysitter for his 2 pet crocodiles. Yeah, so he wanted to bring them with him from Glasgow, but yeah,
Sorry, he had
needed
pet crocodiles.
I think he had them in Glasgow as well. Maybe he got them in Turkey. I can imagine that.
I feel like Turkey's closer to
Crocodile territory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's on the trade route. Not that I know the trade well.
Yeah.
So does he actually have pet crocodiles?
Apparently so. So this job was advertised with a $3,000 salary and health insurance, which is probably...
Yeah, you're going to need health insurance. Hope it's good health insurance. No excess. Do we know any more about the crocodiles?
No.
It feels like a step up from like Tiger King.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if he has this sort of like menagerie of exotic animals.
Yeah. Speaking of unreasonable job descriptions, do you remember Jermaine Defoe posted an ad for his personal assistant? He said he was looking out for an executive assistant, 60 grand a year, and the responsibilities include manage and organise individual family members, including family pets, create an inventory for holiday villas, create a global brand for the Jermaine Defoe name, book all social events, create Defoe's own clothing line and fragrance, select and organise his wardrobe, produce an iPhone app. Oh no, plural, produce iPhone apps. Grow his online database.
It gets more and more ridiculous. It's like, it starts out as like fairly reasonable things. Just like, you know, you have to like manage Jermaine Defoe's calendar.
Pick up my dry cleaning.
Yeah, pick up his dry cleaning. Like, and then it just goes on to build a global brand.
Global brand, fashion line, fragrance, and apps. So you think I'm a master perfumier and app coder and marketing genius? I'd still rather do that job than look after Ryan Kent's fucking pet crocodiles. Yeah. What do crocodiles eat?
Just raw meat.
Fish and all sorts. Just anything, really.
Yeah. That sounds
wildebeest.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what are you feeding it?
Did you see Jason Tindall was getting in trouble on Boxing Day? Jason Tindall, the Newcastle assistant manager, who he goes viral every now and again because everybody online says he's got this like main character syndrome, where, you know, whenever anything happens, he's sort of elbowing Eddie Howe out of the way so that he could be like front and center with the cameras, like giving these interviews where he's just like bigging himself up as like the mastermind behind Newcastle's success.
Aren't there ones where he jumps in front of Eddie Howe to embrace like Pep after a game? Yeah. He's a cult villain, I guess, not a cult hero.
I mean, players seem to love him, but I don't know. There's quite a lot of funny clips of him doing various stuff. But anyway, on Boxing Day, Newcastle were playing Villa, and Jason Tindall came out wearing this hoodie with Wham's Last Christmas on it, and it had his face and Eddie Howe's face photoshopped into George Michael and Andrew Ridgeley, the Wham singers. I noticed that Jason Tindall had made himself George Michael and Eddie Howe Andrew Ridgeley, which I just loved.
Given a toss up between the two, I think I'll go for George Michael. Probably me, I would have thought.
Who's sort of the star of this double act?
It's because there's a Last Christmas chant about him, right?
Oh, that's it. Yeah, to the tune of Lost.
Yeah. That's why he's picked that random one, but obviously has made himself George Michael. There's also a video from last Christmas, as in 2023, of Jason Tindall. I don't know the context of it at all, but he's in a hospital and you can see people in a ward behind him. Like in bed, like, you know, on machines and stuff, and he's doing a Christmas message for someone, and he just goes,
"Wishing you a very Merry Christmas, and hopefully it's not your last Christmas."
That's the fact he winks as he says, "Hopes it's not your last Christmas." So I think it is because of the chant. He's just sort of riffing on that for like a cameo. It's a nice message, but the fact that he's saying that while there's people in the background,
There's
on
literally
life
someone
support,
hooked up to a drip and a bed behind him.
the wink is really good.
I think you can literally hear the beep of the what are they called?
The heart rate monitor.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's not your last. He is really good, Tyndall. At the other end of the charisma spectrum, I was reading an article earlier in The Athletic about Jordan Henderson. He's completed his full year at Ajax because he arrived in the January transfer window right at the start of the year. And do you remember his shirt? His shirt sold out in record time.
Yeah, wasn't it the biggest shirt sales Ajax had ever had?
Yeah, it was like, didn't Johan Cruyff play for Ajax? I think it probably is just like people buy more shirts now, but it's just like Jordan Henderson. And then do you remember he had a really bad start? Like it wasn't really going well for him on the pitch. Ajax were a mess. They got knocked out of the cup by an amateur team. They finished like mid-table, I think. But actually since then, things have recovered a lot, as this article says. It's been pretty solid. It's quite funny because like Jordan Henderson's one of those players. It's quite hard to explain what he brings to a team because it's all quite like abstract and about leadership. So the quotes, there was a quote from a fan and it just said, his passes are boring but good. No one's that inspired.
That's quite a good Jordan Henderson in a nutshell, isn't it?
Yeah, boring but good.
Boring but good.
Stick it on his tombstone. But like, do you remember during the World Cup and they were talking about Jordan Henderson and Roy Keane was like, I've heard people say they want him around the place. For what? Does he do card tricks? What's he doing? Like, because no one can really understand what it is that he brings to the team if it's not footballing. And I think I now have the answer because there's a section in the Athletic article which explains. So this is a quote from an Ajax journalist. He said, when Jordan came in, he was shaking up the team, correcting fellow players on the pitch in a positive way. Then he took them to the gym. A lot of young players have spoken about how Jordan asked them to join him in the sauna or the swimming pool after games.
Specifically the young players that he was asking. And there are no pants in the sauna.
And just so you know, we're going by Dutch rules here. Actually, one of the things that appealed to me about joining a club like Ajax is the sauna rules.
So come here, come and sit on Uncle Jordan's knee. Take your pants off and pick a card, any card. So you think after the game he's like, "Yep, not you, Wout Weghorst. We'll have Jordi Mocchio, 16-year-old defender, just breaking into the squad." To teach you what I know about recycling possession, you are going to need to remove those shorts.
Oh, you want to do some free kick practice? Yeah, just come around mine about 1 a.m. You get there and Jordan's in the bath already.
Yeah.
No, come in. You don't mind candlelight, do you?
Answers the door in his dressing gown.
Mind if I stick on some music?
Careless whisper just comes out.
Yeah, it's an interesting choice of way to deliver a pep talk.
Yeah.
Presumably didn't fly in Saudi. Or is that sort of shit's fine if it's all men, isn't it?
Saying that's why he mysteriously came back after just 6 months.
There was some distasteful behaviour in the hammam. Through a cloud of steam, it was noted. Jordan Henderson's behaviour was odd. Do you think he would have, you know how we talked on our awards episode recently about at the Euros how England complained that they had to be naked in the sauna in Germany? Presumably if they had taken Jordan Henderson, that the leadership role would have involved just getting everyone used to the nudity. That's the sort of thing he brings to the camp, you know, he helps them acclimatise to weird nude customs.
Yeah, it's just sort of local. Maybe that's why he picked the sauna. I think he was part of like the leadership team who were like selecting the hotel.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, this
what the
one's
sauna rules like? As he's just pictured Cole Palmer's shapely thigh.
I mean, it's similar leadership tactics that you use, Jack, amongst the squad.
Yeah, we did a banya. Yeah, the banya. I can relate. Yeah,
the team has never been more unified,
more bonded.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just to clarify, I don't think Jordan Henderson is a predator, but I do think it's quite weird. It's a bit like, and there are those stories about Cristiano Ronaldo, and people are like, he's a fucking nightmare. Unless you're really driven, you don't want to be on a team with a guy like that, because you'll be like on a coach back from like southern Spain. It's like a 9-hour journey. And at the end of it, Ronaldo's like, should we have a quick gym session? And you're like, mate, it's fucking midnight.
Yeah.
Jordan's like that, but with
Get your kit off.
getting your dick out in the sauna. Zach, as January comes around, it is, of course, awards season. That's what we'll mainly be thinking the month about. The Oscars are in January, aren't they?
Yeah. I think they
Golden
are.
Globes,
Yeah,
Emmys.
possibly, yeah. We have obviously dished out our awards already, they are the big gongs of
Yeah.
the sporting year, but
Yeah,
there are some more coming.
Yeah, you got some other ones in the film industry, and I imagine sort of the likes of Ellen DeGeneres and Jimmy Kimmel are currently teeing up some extremely tame gags to tickle the Hollywood elite. But down the pecking order of award ceremonies, the people planning these events have to be a bit more resourceful about who their big name guests are. So the British Asphalt Alliance have got their semi-legendary gala coming up, and I was having a look at who they could book as a sort of after-dinner speaker. Is it Chris Akabusi? Is it Sid from Gogglebox? Or may I suggest a new kid on the block, because none other than Mr. David Coote is now available for after-dinner speeches. So Coote has apparently been telling friends over the Christmas break that he is about to, quote, make a fortune as a 10 grand an hour after dinner speaker. Which, I mean, once again, David, these people are not your friends.
Yeah.
These people leaking stories to the tabloids in your every conversation. We've been over this.
Also, David Coote at an after dinner speech. You've got to, I don't know, I get him after one of the early courses, because once he's been to the cubicle a few times, then
Yeah, well, that's when
he
he's...
might start.
that's
Maybe he'll start getting a bit more candid.
Yeah,
than
I actually think, genuinely, he's quite a good choice for an after-dinner speech, because he is very candid anyway, and now he's got nothing to lose.
Yeah, his career is in tatters. He
Yeah.
may as well just spill the beans.
But I reckon he actually will be. We
Yeah,
joked
like-
about him having a podcast, but this is better.
Yeah, you make more money. Yeah,
10 grand an
yeah,
hour.
I don't know. Like people will love to hear what footballers are like. Who's basically who's a cunt, and we already know that.
Answer Jurgen Klopp.
Answer Jurgen Klopp, but I'm sure he's got a few more up his sleeve.
I think it's, if you're like, stuffed full of After Eight mints and Casillero del Diablo at some miserable corporate bash, it's a bit more interesting than hearing from like the original Stig or like Hardest Geezer,
Yeah,
both of whom are available, by the way. The original Stig is about 10 grand an hour as well.
10 grand an hour.
So when I say the original Stig, I mean the guy on top.
How many laps did he do as the Stig before?
Dunno,
Was he replaced at some point? That
Presumably the use of the term original Stig implies that
there
he's,
was more than one Stig.
you can get a cheaper Stig if you want. I was looking at some other options. So in the referee category, Howard Webb, 15 grand, so more than Coote. And Pierluigi Collina, remember him, the bug-eyed bald fella?
Yeah, I mean
25k.
Collina, he'd be a good one.
Does he speak English? Is that an Italian? I think I'd rather hear
Let's
from
get
David
his
Coote than
I'd get
Collina.
more than Howard Webb for sure. Howard Webb's just pretty dull, I imagine.
Yeah, but maybe people want a safer option, David Coote.
Yeah.
Who's taking a chance on him? But Collina, 25 grand. And then I was looking, on this website, it'll give you a range for other people. So Alan Shearer, 10 to 15 grand. So less than Howard Webb, but more than David Coote. And in the same price bracket, you've got Dr. Alex from Love Island.
Same as Alan Shearer.
I guess Shearer
Surely
is just a bit of a boring fuck.
Yeah.
Jake Humphrey, 10 to 15 grand. Eddie the Eagle, 2 to 5 grand. The British skier from the 80s.
Snip.
Theo Paphitis from Dragon's Den, 25 grand.
25. So he's
I mean, he is like,
significantly more expensive than Alan Shearer.
but is that just because he's super rich? Like, why is he even doing this?
Yeah, I think he's not that rich if he's
Yeah,
doing these. I don't know. Like quite a lot of people do. It's 25 grand, I guess. It's
yeah.
Good
It's not quite Floyd Mayweather, who claims to be a billionaire but sells cameo messages for 41 quid. Presumably not a billionaire if he's doing that.
What stories do you think David Coote is going to be telling?
I guess the question for me is he going to be like totally, is he going to explain the Jurgen Klopp thing? Is he going to talk about like his downfall? Because that's actually really interesting.
Yeah. We were talking in our George Best episode about how like a lot of the George Best stories that you hear are his from his after dinner speeches, those like good lines that he tells. I wonder if David Coote's going to have a similar one.
If you offered me the choice of hoovering up washing powder in someone's kitchen at 4 a.m. or slagging off Jurgen Klopp, it would be a tough choice. Fortunately, I've done both.
Yeah,
kind of thing. Yeah.
that kind of.
Hopefully, he will do that sort of vibe. We said before that he should be selling cameos, but he needs to act fast.
Yeah. I think, if you got a cameo from David Coote, but he'd just have it set up at home so it looks like he's on a horrible 7 a.m. sesh, like the light.
He probably is.
The light, you can set up some lighting that makes it look like there's like the cracks in the curtain. He'll just have like a setup of like cans of special brew on the table.
I don't know why. Whenever
he'll just put some talcum powder around his nose just
all right,
part of the act.
All right, you German cunt, David Coote. Do you want to come round for a drugs party? People would pay for that. Yeah. I don't know why. Whenever we talk about David Coote, we sort of slip into the mode of his like career's mentor, where we're like, David, you need to get rid of those friends; they're toxic, and you need to launch a podcasting cameo offering. Yeah, but it sounds like he is amenable to this.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I imagine his refereeing career is down the pan. Yeah. So embrace this.
It's time for the Coote cast. His forthcoming pod.
We could get one.
Or do you think he's like going? Yeah, an extra shot special with David Coote would.
Yeah.
Yeah. If anyone knows how you make contact with David Coote, can you let us know?
If anyone knows his dealer,
yeah, that would be good.
One of his blabbermouth,
exactly.
Quote
to his friends. I'm sure they'll broker it. Hopefully sever the ties. But like he's kind of got an opportunity here to turn something quite sad into like a sort of like Hawk Tour girl style. Although she's a bit fucked now, isn't she, as well?
Is she?
She'd done a crypto scam over Christmas. She launched I think it's called like Hawk Tour coin or something. Yeah. And they did what's called a rug pull, which is where you get loads of mugs to buy it, and then all the people who started it just sell theirs immediately and tank the coin. And I think she's denying she was involved with it, but her podcast hasn't broadcast since.
Really?
Talk Tour, yeah. She's gone dark.
She cancelled.
Yeah, well, I think she's waiting for the fucking SEC to...
Yeah. God, she's really gone through the entire trajectory of fame and cancelled.
In like a year. Whereas Coote can actually do it in reverse now. And you could see him in like a year doing like a BBC Three documentary where he talks to other people who've endured like shame. Do you know what I mean? Probably her. I'd quite like him travelling to Savannah, Georgia to interview the Hawk Tour girl. What was it like for you?
It's him and Hugh Edwards on an island together with the Hawk Tour girl.
Oh, it's I'm a celeb, isn't it?
I'm a celeb, but just with disgraced celebs. That'd actually be a great spin-off.
For me, Hugh Edwards is probably a bit too far down the disgraced scale, personally.
Schofield.
Philip Schofield. Philip Schofield has really done his island thing, hasn't he?
Yeah, I suppose he has. Yeah.
And in a way, so has Gary Glitter, but different sort of island, that.
They all go to Epstein Island then.
Yeah, I'm a disgraced celeb. Get me back into public favour.
Get me back on ITV4.
It would be good.
Yeah.
I'd mainly, to be honest, I would actually just pay good money just to see a conversation between David Coote and the Hawk Tour girl. It's like, what is the common ground there? Disgrace. Poor old Cootie. Anyway, we remain in his corner and available for careers advice should he want it.
Yeah, or if he wants to come on this podcast,
would really
as a first step in clawing back his credibility.
Yeah, well, he's already on the after dinner speech circuit.
Yeah.
The British Asphalt Alliance Awards it's not nothing.
I'm just imagining that BBC Three documentary of like a producer showing him back footage and being like, "Oh yeah, that was a dark time."
They're watching it on an iPad.
Yeah, watching on
Doesn't John Ronson do a show like that or like a book?
So you've been publicly shamed by
my
John
cousin
Ronson.
John.
Yeah, is he?
He's a distant cousin of
John
mine.
Ronson's
I've
distant
never
cousin,
actually
is he?
met him, but he tweeted me once. I wrote an article or something. And he tweeted me being like, "I think we're cousins," and we are.
Whoa!
Distantly. And I got my aunt to do to check the family tree, but then I tried to meet up with him, and he told me I'm tired.
You're tired?
No, he's tired. He goes,
right.
sorry, cousin, I'm tired. I was like, right. Basically, I'm washing my hair. A bit busy interviewing David Coote and Monica Lewinsky.
I love John Ronson. That's it.
Yeah, he's lovely. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, he could He's
Do-
probably
he could
already
do
in
them.
David Coote's DMs as we speak.
Either that or it's like from Coote's point of view. I'm David Coulton. This time last year, I was in a dark place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Re-
Could go
a
many
redemption
ways.
arc. Do you remember Ron Atkinson? He was Man United manager, and then he was ITV's he was like the Ali McCoist role for ages when ITV had Champions League. But he made a really vile racist comment about Marcel Desailly, and it was broadcast to international audiences who weren't on an ad break, so his career was destroyed. But he got given a doc, I think it was Channel 5, the only ones who'd have him, of him pursuing his redemption. And it was the most failed apology ever. Instead of just being I'm a racist and I need to learn about it, he went through the history books to try and prove that the origins of the N-word weren't originally racist. He was sort of if you look back, the terms from ancient Greece or whatever, and it wasn't racist then. It's Ron, mate. We all heard what you said.
Shit, yeah. That's like Prince Andrew's interview.
Yeah, it was car
Where he
crash.
just tries to justify it. Who else would be on it?
Greg Wallace.
Greg
Yeah,
Wallace.
Greg. I'm guessing
You could do a sort of, it could be an annual thing. It's like a December show, all the disgraced celebs of the year.
Of that year.
Yeah.
That's actually a hit show in the making.
Yeah, in a Black
Might
Mirror
trademark
style
this now.
dystopia. It is a good idea. Something very sort of medieval mob rule about it, isn't it? It's suffer publicly and we'll forgive you.
Put them in the stocks, basically.
Yeah, it is. But a great watch.
Yeah. Maybe Jordan Henderson will be on next year's one. Once the stories come out of the sauna.
That was an open secret of what he gets up to. And just to clarify, we are not saying he's a predator.
Actually, speaking of unlikely bad boys of sport, did you see Magnus Carlsen got into a bit of a spat this week?
The chess.
The chess,
Messi of chess.
The Messi of chess.
And just for the benefit,
Chessy.
yeah, thank you, because someone keeps DMing us. I'm sorry, I've forgotten your name. Because whenever we say Magnus Carlsen's the Messi of chess, we don't say Chessy.
Yeah,
And he's
they
getting,
they said it's an open goal that we've.
yeah, they're increasingly frustrated. So,
Although I
Chessy.
do think that to explain the Chessy gag, you have to call him the Messi
Yeah.
of chess first off, which slightly, I don't know. I guess does it ruin the punchline? a little
That's
bit?
working for me. Keep
But
going.
anyway,
now.
now we've fully explained it, which is always the good sign of a
Good gag.
top joke.
So what did
he basically got kicked out of a tournament in New York this week because he refused to take off jeans. So apparently he'd actually worn them for the first few rounds of the tournament, and there'd been no problem. And then the organisers, I think, had called out another competitor for wearing jeans, and they'd been like, well, what the fuck? If I'm gonna have to change, then do it. You better make Magnus do it too.
I bet they were like, oh, fuck.
Fuck,
Lost our
this is
superstar.
really
A
backfired.
jeans not allowed.
And apparently not. So he refused to change out of them, and then they kicked him out of the tournament. Basically, he's actually now back. The tournament's back down. They've said that they'll allow elegant minor deviations to the dress code.
So Magnus
basically
can wear what he wants.
He can wear what he wants.
It would have been
He can wear
quite power move if he'd been like, oh, no jeans, and just taken his trousers off, sat there in his pants.
jeans. Yeah.
So
I think he's not that much of a bad. That would be the Jordan Henderson approach.
Sorry, Ryan Bobby, no football shorts allowed. So.
Hans Niemann, the teenage prodigy, is also going to have to reveal his anal beads up there.
That's weird that chess has a dress code, I think.
Yeah, it's not really necessary, surely.
Also, how...
I mean, they do quite like their sort of the idea that this is a sort of stuffy world of Soviet princelings, right?
Yeah, but I sort of thought the idea of it was intellect is all you need. Is it actually quite sort of protocol based?
Yeah,
aristocratic.
Maybe it is also just the stoner nerds who turned up in their hole-filled t-shirts with pot noodles spilled down the front.
They're sick of these guys who can't look after themselves.
Yeah. So that's all sort of cleared up. Magnus is back at the table, but I've got a story about another board game disruptor for you. So last month it was as I'm sure you'll know, the Spanish language Scrabble World Championship was being hosted in Granada, and for all of the big stars of the sport, this was the biggie, the tournament they'd all been waiting for. all across the Hispanosphere, from the cantinas of Lima to the shebeens of Malabo, the finest wordsmiths had spent months memorizing the spelling of flexibilizabanais and viladinquinas.
Those like the longest
They
words
are,
in Spanish.
you guessed, yeah.
Of course.
They are the highest scoring words in the Spanish language.
Villarqueñas.
So anyway, they've been memorizing these words for their shot at glory. So I imagine there were a few sniggers at the tournament when a pasty Kiwi bloke turned up, and they spotted him trying to explain to the tournament organisers in broken Spanish that he was there to take part. And they let him in, and he goes over to the bar and has tried to order like dos cervezas and patatas bravas at the bar. But their sneers turned to silence when the guy, who's a New Zealand guy called Nigel Richards, absolutely obliterated the opposition and lifted the title despite not speaking Spanish.
Whoa, so he just learned the Spanish
Yeah,
Scrabble.
so yeah, I mean it's very impressive. He basically just like memorized the Spanish dictionary and went in there and beat all of these native speakers. Actually, turns out that it's not the first time he's done that. So in 2015, Nigel won the French World Championships of Scrabble after memorizing the entire dictionary in 9 weeks.
Oh, so he doesn't speak French either.
No.
That is fucking nuts.
Yeah.
Although Martin Lewis, the money-saving expert guy, had a program about board games over Christmas, and he was with a Scrabble master, and like a lot of the words are just not words that you...
Yeah, I mean, they're all... You win Scrabble by knowing all of these like 2 and 3 letter words that you can do at the end, right?
Still.
Yeah.
That's fucking impressive.
It is impressive. Apparently this guy is known as the Tiger Woods of Scrabble.
Is there a Chessy style shortening there?
He does look exactly how you'd imagine a guy.
Yeah.
He looks like he's not
Skinny.
seen any sunlight for the past 6
He
months.
probably hasn't.
Probably because he's been in a windowless cell memorizing the Spanish dictionary.
That is actually a serious achievement, though, from him. Has he ever won it in English? Yeah.
I think he's a serial champion in English, and I guess it's too easy for him.
You know when they go like Tiger Woods of or Messi of, it's like, why have they gone for Tiger Woods there? Is he a shagger?
He doesn't
look like a shagger.
Yeah, I was going to say we say he looks exactly how you imagine. It's not. That doesn't match with the Tiger Woods of Scrabble.
But you know how Tiger Woods' thing was just like relentless practice. Like he basically took professional sport up a level.
Yeah.
So maybe it's that because he has learned the Spanish dictionary.
Yeah.
I think it is that. Well, congrats to him. What's he called? Nigel.
Nigel Richards.
Have we got
of
more
New Zealand.
Scrabble stories that we can do a whole episode
I will
on?
be keenly keeping an eye on the world of Scrabble.
Keenly scraping that barrel.
On the upcoming tournaments, yeah. Moving on from Scrabble, back in the world of football, it looks like the game is up for Wayne Rooney. So Plymouth got smashed 4-0 on Boxing Day, and they're bottom of the championship now. So yeah, it's not looking good. The Plymouth fans have turned on him. Apparently they were chanting "sacked in the morning" at their last match.
Do people chant that at their own manager?
I think they were playing Oxford, and the Oxford fans started chanting it, and the Plymouth fans started joining in as well, which is never a good sign.
Or Wazza. I think everyone wanted it to work out.
Yeah,
as well.
I feel quite sad about it. He seems like a lovely bloke.
Also, there's something about Wayne Rooney that's so likable because he's just like, he's a real person.
Yeah.
He has a laugh. Yeah, he gets a bit pissed sometimes. Occasionally wakes up in bed with a Snapchat model.
Whatever that is.
But like, he's a good guy.
Yeah. But yeah, the fans have turned on him. And to be fair, he didn't do himself too many favours in terms of keeping them happy over the festive season. So in the run-up to Christmas, the club advertised a meet and greet with the players and the manager. And, it was £40 a pop. And Rooney is obviously the star attraction in that lineup. I don't know how many people were forking out 40 quid to have their kids sit on the knee of backup keeper Connor Hazard. But at 9 p.m. the night before the event, the ticket holders got an email informing them that Wayne Rooney would not be attending the bash. So, these disappointed youngsters were turning up to the event and having to force down assistant manager Mike Phelan's soggy mince pies and endure an off-key rendition of Silent Night from video analyst Ross Goodwin. And they were pretty pissed off at this. as it was, and their mood was not improved when they logged onto Instagram and spotted Wayne Rooney on Colleen's Instagram glugging mulled cider at Manchester Christmas market.
So he basically bunked off.
So he bunked off the Plymouth festive bash and went up to Manchester.
Can't say I blame him.
No,
But
yeah, the fans weren't too happy about it.
had he not, Colleen had been in the jungle, hadn't she?
Yeah,
On the real I'm a Celeb,
yeah.
not the shamed
there was
celeb.
not yet.
Redeeming her good name.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a bit of debate on these Plymouth fan forums about it, that, you know, Rooney's obviously not seen Colleen for a while because she's been in the jungle, and I don't know if the whole family has moved down to Plymouth. Hopefully not, because they're not going to be there for much longer, it seems like. So there was some sympathy, there was some debate among fans about, you know, he doesn't get a lot of time off over Christmas, so fair enough, he wants to go up and see the family and take Colleen to the Christmas market.
Yeah, I saw Plymouth
But,
denying, because it wasn't a Plymouth club event, it was a local charity who are they're like a supporters trust or something like that.
Okay.
And I saw them denying that Rooney was ever advertised as a guest, but that's not true. He was. And also
Yeah.
they did email at 9
Yeah,
p.m.
if
the
you
night
send out a
before.
panicked
Being
email
like,
at 9
"Just
p.m.
so you
saying he's
know."
not coming, then yeah, so I don't know. I guess he wasn't really in the fans' good books, and then
It's a shame because it
results have
started.
not
Do you remember there was
gone
that
back
video
on
of him?
side.
That video of him doing karaoke,
Yeah,
and you thought like, oh, this is all quite fun. The fans really warming to him. In hindsight, maybe he should have been like focusing on set piece drills rather than having a fucking
Yeah.
spicy ruby and then heading out to belt out some karaoke. But I thought, yeah, that could be the end of Rooney as a.
I know we were discussing before we came on air, where does he go next after this? I can't see him getting another job in English football. Maybe if he really drops down the pyramid.
MLS again.
Saudi MLS. He did all right in MLS last time.
They lost 4-0 to Coventry on Boxing Day, which are they not managed by Frank Lampard? Is he the new?
Yeah.
Sort of a
Oh,
bit
so
of a shit munchers derby, that Lampard v Rooney.
Yeah. Do you think Plymouth were sticking with Rooney to get the clash of the Titans? That
With
game?
Lampard, yeah.
Do you reckon Wayne's used his equivalent of breaking the safety glass and doing a pep talk talking about his tiny knob?
yeah, the old tiny knob speed. When he was at DC United, he tried to like build some common ground with the players by saying like, you know, like people look at me and they think I'm like a millionaire, super successful, but like I've overcome a lot of hardship. For example, I've got a tiny knob. And apparently all the players were like, I remember that there was a quote from like a dressing room source, and it was like, some of the young lads were really confused and concerned by it.
Was it like they didn't share his British sense of humour?
They hadn't been to Jordan Henderson's training camp, so they didn't understand why he had his dick out.
Big culture barrier.
Yeah, it really is, to be
Like,
fair.
oh my God, why is the gaffer talking about his cock?
That is exactly the sort of gag a Brit working in America would make.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't land at all. Anyway, I hope Plymouth will at least give Wayne until the 2nd of January, because it would be cruel to sack him on a bank holiday. And it would be another one for the set, including Patrick Vieira being sacked on St. Patrick's Day. And do you remember Trevor Francis got sacked by Crystal Palace in 2003? Simon Jordan was the chairman then, and he said he just went really quiet and then said in a small voice, "But it's my birthday." I guess New Year's Day is not quite in the same league.
Heartbreaking.
New Year is a weird time for people in football. It's like everyone's celebrating and they're playing so many matches. And it's like probably the most intense part of the season. It's where a lot of like narratives are formed. I don't think you can really enjoy it. You can't have a big New Year's Eve. Although, do you remember James Wilson, the Brighton striker? There's that video of him puking on the pitch on New Year's Day, like 2016. He'd had a bender.
Yeah.
And actually, I've got another story about that. 1994, concerning Mr. Carlton Palmer, England legend. So when Carlton Palmer was at Sheffield Wednesday on New Year's Eve 94, the next day, Wednesday had a midday kickoff against QPR. But his teammates, Chris Waddle and Chris Woods, they knew they weren't playing in the match. The manager had told them. And so they persuaded Carlton to come out for a few drinks with them. And they ended up having a massive bender at Tramp, the Mayfair nightclub. where they were hanging out with Rod Stewart, just like really getting on the booze. Anyway, Carlton said he staggered out at 4 a.m, so 8 hours before kickoff of the QPR game. But he was pretty confident he'd be on the bench. And then he got there and at 10:30 a.m. was told, "You're starting." So he's had a few hours sleep. He's fucking hungover. He puked on the pitch during the warm-up. Apparently Woods and Waddle were just pissing themselves.
Were they not playing, the other two?
No, they were on the bench and they knew they were. So they kind of stitched him up. And he said the worst moment was in the second half. They turned on the floodlights and the sudden brightness dazzled him. And he said, "I didn't know where I was. I was marking Les Ferdinand and I was running the wrong way until Les said, let me give you a hand," and gently turned me 180 degrees. They won though.
Yeah, I feel like there's quite a few stories of players playing hungover and ending up playing really well. There's Jermaine Pennant, who on his Arsenal debut his Arsenal full debut, I think it was, scored a hat-trick.
Yeah, that's probably the best it's ever gone for someone hungover.
Sort of the best that ever went for Jermaine Pennant, actually.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, I think generally there's that thing with a hangover where sometimes like you're a bit more relaxed. Do you know what I mean? There's a certain type of hangover where you're a bit like...
Yeah, it can go one of two ways, really.
Yeah, there's also the one where you just have no hand-eye coordination. It's like humiliating. The England cricket captain, Ben Stokes, had a phase where he would go out on like 4 a.m. benders in the middle of test matches, because obviously it's a 5-day game. So like in one of the nights in the middle of it, he would do that and you're just like, why? Just wait 2 days.
Yeah. Did it work for him?
Well, it worked quite well then. Do you remember he got arrested for smacking someone outside a nightclub and got banned from playing for England for a few months? So, yeah, I don't know. Actually, I have got an even better New Year's Day story for you, which I've been saving all year, which concerns the 1940 New Year's Day derby between Hibs and Hearts, the two Edinburgh clubs. Obviously, it was the Second World War at the time, but 14,000 people came and watched the game in Edinburgh. And it was actually, the match was chosen by the BBC World Service to broadcast to the troops who are stationed in Europe as a sort of like morale raiser. They get to listen to some footy, which, was a lovely idea, except for the fact that Edinburgh was enveloped in a thick fog, what used to be called a pea super. So, those fogs were fucking serious. You couldn't see like 10 feet in front of you. And it was so bad that public transport in Edinburgh was cancelled, shops and pubs were closed, and there were numerous reports of pedestrians being hit by cars because you literally just could not see where you were. Any other time you would obviously cancel that match. It was pointless. But they couldn't, because the Nazis used to listen to British radio broadcasts to get intelligence about the weather.
Do they not have anything more high-tech than that? They just...
You think about it.
Just tuning into the radio.
Yeah, but I think if you think about it, you listen in to the football and they probably would mention the weather. And apparently they were particularly concerned that the Luftwaffe were going to launch a bombing raid on the Edinburgh docks and railways. And apparently if they knew there was thick fog, they knew like the trains weren't running and the ships weren't out. So it would be like prime time.
I guess also if it's thick fog, it's really hard to shoot down planes.
Yeah.
Because you can like fly... The planes, it's all right, you can fly above.
Well, I was wondering that, but
then you probably won't
quite
be able
low.
to see where you're dropping the
Yeah,
bombs.
I feel like the Messerschmitts would struggle in the old...
Yeah, I mean, if they're using BBC World Service to get their war intelligence... Then...
Yeah, are they at a good enough altitude?
Yeah.
Anyway, all this meant that the match had to go ahead because they couldn't be giving the Germans any useful intelligence. So the government intervened and told both teams and the BBC, you've got to go ahead and we want full commentary, which... was bad news for poor old Rex Kingsley, the man on the mic in the BBC commentary team. And apparently he was like, I'm sure it'll be fine. Took up his spot in the gantry and then watched the players emerge for kickoff and then just disappear into this thick gloom. And then Rex came up with a plan, which was that he'd dispatch a runner to the pitch who would then report back on what was happening. Basically just like, let me know when there's been a goal, like just let me know what's happening, mic'd up. Unfortunately, this runner tripped over some loose equipment and broke his ankle. So he was out. And it was plan B for Rex, the commentator, who decided to just provide total fiction. So he was just staring at fog. He couldn't see anything. So he just made up commentary of what was happening.
That's pretty impressive, actually.
Yeah, apparently Rex regaled troops with stories of outrageous mazy dribbles, superlative goals, incomprehensible saves, near misses and fights. So it sounds like he was overdoing it a little bit.
Do you think the Luftwaffe were listening at this? Is like... Donald something like scoring a screamer from 30 yards. This can't. This is stranger than fiction. Stranger than
Mein Obergruppenführer, that is an all-time classic being played out in Edinburgh. Can we pause the aerial raid? All crowded around the wireless. Lord Haw can't believe it. Anyway, it got to half time. It got to half time, and apparently the referee was like, "We're not fucking bothering with a half-time break because like it's just going to get too complicated. So just play on straight away." Rex, the commentator, had no idea, so he took a 15-minute tea break, came back, and obviously this meant he was then even more out of sync. So apparently the full-time whistle went, and he had no idea, and ended up commentating for another 15 minutes because he was just doing it on his watch. And he wasn't the only one. So after full time, the players trudged in and they noticed in the Hearts dressing room that the winger Donaldson was missing, and they sent out a search party, and it took a good 10 minutes to find him, where they found him on the left wing, still just patrolling up and down and calling for the ball. That's how foggy it was.
So were there fans at this match as well?
Yeah, I don't know what they
Surely
were
you
fucking
would just
watching.
sack it off after.
Yeah, presumably.
Pass off.
I don't know if maybe they were ordered to stay because they needed the crowd noise to
Oh yeah,
confuse the Germans.
on the radio.
Like, should you guys put this energy into cracking the Enigma code instead of putting on like Potemkin
Yeah.
football match?
Was this at the point? This is the point that the war turned.
Yeah. They didn't show this in
This was one of the key moments.
forget Churchill's like resolute speeches. Or was this before Dunkirk?
This is 1940. This was a key moment in the war.
This is the
wasn't
darkest hour,
Yeah.
literally, if you're in Edinburgh. If you're a Rex.
it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite good. Also, so apparently Rex called the score at 4-3, but the true score was actually 6-5. So it was a genuine
Okay,
thriller.
so he was actually toning it down.
Quite sweet though, because obviously everyone knows the World War I Christmas Day true story.
Yeah.
I was listening, you know that pod, It Was What It Was, it's like football history pod. They did an episode on the truce. Quite a nice story, but I hadn't heard this one. I think that's all we've got time for.
Yep, I think so.
So thanks very much. Happy New Year. Any resolutions, Zach? It's an annoying question, isn't it?
No, just
Manscaped.
more of the same. Manscaped more regularly.
Just code upshot
yeah.
to get 20% off at Manscaped and to really impress Jordan Henderson. Because what he likes is a bald bush. Yeah, thanks a lot. George, thank you.
Thank you.
Zach, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot for listening. We will see you next year for our darts special coming out just in time for the final. Thanks a lot.